Hello, my name is Sara Daas, and I will be discussing the spread of non-consensual sexual deepfakes, or what I like to call digitally transmitted diseases. So, what are deepfakes? According to the European Research Services, deepfakes are defined as manipulated or synthetic media, either audio or visual media that seem authentic but have never actually happened using artificial intelligence. So here's a quick look of questions to think about. For the sake of time, I will be answering a few of these questions, but the research that I've conducted does answer most of these. So the ones I'll be answering is, are deepfakes a problem? Are deepfakes a form of sexual assault? How are deepfakes fake tech regulated? So are deepfakes morally problematic? Adrian de Ruyter argues that deepfake technology is not inherently morally wrong. There are three factors that indicate whether or not it is. The first is if the deepfake person opposes the depiction. Second, if it misleads viewers. And third, the intention that motivated its creation. Non-consensual sexual deepfakes are videos and photos that have been manipulated using AI to digitally insert an individual's image into sexual content without the individual's consent or awareness. These types of deepfake opposes all three factors mentioned above, making them undoubtedly morally problematic. The central issue is the violation of women's consent and the defamation of depicting them sexually. This is also known as image-based sexual abuse, or commonly referred to as revenge porn. Deepfakes are increasingly present across the internet. In 2019, AI firm DeepTrace found that 96% of deepfake videos on the internet were pornographic, nearly all of which consisted of manipulated images of women. By July 2020, there were approximately 104,852 women who had experienced deep nudes, who had deep nudes created and posted on just Telegram alone, which is a messaging service. Sensity AI found that the number of sexual deepfakes is doubling every 6 months and is estimated to reach 720,000 sexual deepfakes by summer 2022. A national study found that victims of non-consensual pornographic deepfakes experience similar outcomes to that of sexual assault survivors. A few examples are emotional dysregulation, depression, PTSD, symptomology, and social withdrawal, which is especially prevalent if they had already experienced previous sexual assault. In another study sampling 244 victims of non-consensual pornography, they found 1 in 12 women, 8%, had experienced victimization of non-consensual pornography. Of those respondents, 71% reported that the perpetrator was a current or past intimate partner. On average, 1 in 4 women experienced sexual and physical aggression by an intimate partner. On the whole, of the whole sample, 1 in 20 adult respondents admitted to creating non-consensual pornography. Women reported higher rates of victimization and lower rates of perpetration compared to men. The results support non-consensual pornography as a gendered form of sexual abuse that emerging adults are especially susceptible to. So a few of the stakeholders are government, law enforcement, research institutions, and researchers, search engines, cloud infrastructure, engineers, application developers, social media companies, victims, video sharing companies, viewers, news media, society, and the public, content creators, deepfake tech companies, and advocacy groups. So sexual assault in Canada and its regulation. In Canada, sexual activity is only legal when both parties consent. Consent is defined as the voluntary agreement to engage in sexual activity. Everyone who commits a sexual assault is guilty of an indictable offense and is liable to imprisonment for 10 years, or if the complainant is under the age of 16, imprisonment of 14 years, and to a minimum punishment of imprisonment for 1 year. So Canada's regulation of deepfakes. There are currently no laws in Canada specific to deepfake and notification technology. Sections of the criminal code could be used to hold those who sexually weaponize this type of technology criminally accountable, such as Section 162, which is the distribution of images, of intimate images of the code that can require that the person to attend taking of fingerprints, photographs, or other similar records recordings that are used to identify them under the Identification of Criminal Acts. Another one is the Indecent Communication Act under Section 372 of the Criminal Code. And then, no, I'm just gonna skip that part. So for the jurisdictional scan, I chose to specifically look at Australia because they have new revenge porn laws that have been updated to include revenge porn as a crime. So the first section, 91P of the Crimes Act 1900, now makes it an offense punishable by up to 3 years imprisonment and or a fine of $11,000 for a person to intentionally record an intimate image of another person without the other person's consent. Section 91Q of the Act prescribes that the same maximum penalty for anyone who intentionally distributes an intimate image of another person without the other's consent while knowing or being reckless to that fact, without the other person's consent. And Section 91R prescribes that the same penalty for anyone who threatens to record or distribute an intimate image without consent, intending the other person to fear the threat would be carried out. Courts are also empowered to issue rectification orders, which compel offenders to take responsible steps to recover, delete, or destroy images taken or distributed without consent. Disobeying this order could see an additional 2 years jail and $5,500 fines issued. Australia also developed an Office of E-Safety as a national initiative to support survivors of non-consensual deepfakes, which is more than Canada has, since Canada only has Cyber Tipline, which is dedicated to children's online safety, not everyone's. And then a few policy recommendations is to criminalize the production and distribution of non-consensual deep nudes and sexual deepfakes by categorizing them as sexual assault. Number 2 is to create a national initiative with survivors to support the survivors, similar to Australia's Office of E-Safety. And 3 is to conduct intersectional and gender-based research on non-consensual deep nudes and sexual deepfakes. Thank you.